All right, so this is a workshop of the Malta Town Board to discuss several items. One of them is allowing backyard chickens in the town of Malta, battery energy storage related to solar. The town of Malta currently has no solar law legislation, so we want to talk about that. And then hopefully that'll all be the first hour, and the second hour, we will talk about changes to our plan development district legislation. We have with us today Jamie O'Neill, our Director of Building and Planning. I almost put you in Parks and Rec, but Floria is a senior planner, Adrian is a planner, and Bob Murphy from our consultant, Barton and LaJudas. I am not intending to have any public input in today's workshop. In the future, there will be plenty of opportunity for the public to weigh in on things. We will have, for any of this is adopted, we will have public information centers where the sessions where the public will have input. And there will be, obviously, during any of our town board members, there's public comment, and anyone is welcome to stand up and talk about anything. So I think we're going to start with chickens. I think that seems to be the easiest thing to discuss for now, we hope. And so I'll let Bob Murphy give us a little summary about what the legislation that is being proposed is all about.
Sure. Thanks, Cynthia. So the draft keeping of chickens has been brought up as a use to include in the zoning code and be regulated. Figuring out how to do that, where to allow them, where not to, what setback requirements there are. We looked at a couple neighboring towns to see how they accommodate the keeping of chickens, and put together this draft chicken law that I think that was keeping of chickens law that was distributed prior to the meeting. There is a maximum of, this particular law calls for a maximum of 6 hens, no roosters, and a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet. We also are prohibiting the keeping of roosters. That keeps noise concerns a little bit less, and allowing it in residential districts R5 and R8, and again, in the draft form, special use permits for others. We talked about that a little bit today, maybe nixing the special use permits. But this draft law is, as you see in a summary sheet that I passed around, based on the town of Queensberry's solar law or chicken law, with minor modifications based on what we've discussed with town staff.
So for anybody that didn't get a chance to actually review this, it also talks about setbacks where they, for the coop, it talks about regulations based on the coop. It's got to be a secure coop, an enclosed run at all times, predator resistant, weatherproof, well ventilated. They can't be allowed to roam freely. But rear yard setbacks, they're only in the backyard, you have to have setbacks. Earlier today, we had a meeting with staff and we talked about some other recommendations, things that we may want to modify from this draft. Anybody want to speak to that, or do you want me to, or? Alrighty then.
I think it should be at least 40,000 square feet.
Well, that is, in our meeting earlier today, code enforcement has, first of all, recommended that we have some sort of application with an application fee and a fine associated when you violate that code. We did talk about a minimum lot size of 40,000 square feet, and basically what that does is keeps chickens out of basically the subdivisions, out of High Point or Woodfield or, Country Knolls, at any of the subdivisions. We kind of agreed on that because we'll just have complaints from neighbors if we allow it, in neighborhoods. We also talked about restricting chickens from commercial zones and the form-based code. Did I get it all? But just I want to know, I also got several correspondences from residents that spoke against allowing backyard chickens. Most of them, I think, came from one particular neighborhood. I won't say what, but, and all of them, I'll pass these around. They're here if you want to look at them. They were all against allowing backyard chickens. As I say, they all came from pretty much a neighborhood, which at 40,000 square feet, they'd be not allowed. Comments? Another thing that's on here that, Jamie kind of suggested was, prohibited activities are slaughtering of chickens. And then this says it's prohibited for the sale of eggs, selling chickens, other chicken-derived products. But Jamie suggested that possibly we allow the sale of eggs, because if you get an excess of eggs from your 6 hens, put them out on a stand out in front of your house.
I thought that was the only reason to have chickens, you know? Don't sit, don't come, don't roll over when you ask it, right? It just runs away from you. And you gotta catch the egg. Anyhow,
I mean, there are a couple of things that could conceivably be a little problematic for us here. Obviously, it's a law that has to be enforced, and, our court enforcement tends to be generally stretched pretty thin, so enforcement will be an issue. The other thing is, sometimes you buy chicks, and one of them turns out to be a rooster, and then you get attached to that rooster, and it may be, people need to be prepared for the fact that they will possibly have to rehome or something else with their rooster that turns out. And again, it'll be code enforcement, so I want to be sure that we're actually prepared to be able to enforce this.
I just don't want to see any chickens in any developments that are close.
Yeah. I mean, there may be developments that, that
Actually,
have more than an acre.
force it also,
Yeah.
because otherwise we're going to have lots of other problems.
Yeah, and the less areas that can accommodate it, the easier it is to enforce, right? So, having that minimum lot size of 40,000 square feet, that's almost an acre.
That's almost an acre.
Yeah,
your average. For the people playing along at home, that's 200 by 200 foot lot.
Yeah, most housing developments are a quarter to a third of an acre at most. There's a couple that are bigger, but they got room to keep them away from their neighbors. Yes,
Do we really want to burden the planning board with special use permits for chickens?
Yeah,
Please, no.
Just the application and a
Application,
fee.
so that would be great. Thank you.
I like that.
Yeah,
well, yeah.
Too much.
yeah.
And then should we have some provision where, let's say, somebody is keeping chickens in deplorable conditions and, whatever, they get rid of the chickens because they have to, and then they try to come back and get chickens again? Should we have some means of discretion for saying, nah, because you can't be responsible with your chickens?
That's why the application.
Right. So the application would then have the authority to deny.
revoke it.
Yeah.
What, say that again? In the app,
Chickens weren't cared for or something, and they got rid of the chickens because they were in poor condition, couldn't be cared for, something like that, but then they reapplied later on to try to do it again. There was a way for us to prohibit that from happening, based upon their past history of not being able to. Or
meet
if they're
a-
repeat violators with them running loose, or they get roosters, or something to that effect. In addition to a fine, there's the ability to not allow them to have future chickens.
be a good steward of the chickens.
That's right.
I just have a comment on that. I think we should approve and consider possibly putting language in the draft ordinance that states that it'll be by application form approved by the town board. And in that would be a revocable license language, that it's not a special use permit, it's not a zoning. It would be, we adopt the form, the application. If they, once it's approved, that's what they use, and in that language, in the form itself, we'll have you know, what can happen if you don't. Your license can be revoked, you can be fined, it's all in the code there. But that way it's clear, they're signing it, they're aware of it at the time they sign it, and it removes any inference that this is as of right, that it's a zoning change, that it's a special use permit. It's just a license that you are approved to do it, provided you comply with our rules and regs.
Does that want to be a town board decision or delegated to the planning board?
No, not that the
We'll
board's gonna
adopt the
approve it, they're
application.
just gonna approve the form.
Right.
To approve the form that we're gonna use going forward.
And that form will have then the, makes sense?
Yep,
Makes
yeah,
sense?
we can make that change.
Yep,
Are we 40,000 square feet?
40,000 square feet. We all agree on that? Anything else to talk about with that? All right, let's move on to battery storage.
Okay. So, battery storage, you know, has a lot to do with solar, which we'll get to later, but could also be storing energy separate from any solar installation as well. This law was based on a NYSERDA model battery storage law that's been updated in the, I think it was updated last year, was the last time it was updated. And provides for, as you can see in your summary, 2 different tiers of battery storage based on energy capacity, with tier 1 being smaller battery capacities of under or equal to 600 kilowatt hours, and then tier 2 being greater than that. So
So it gives a little idea about what 600 kilowatt hours is.
predominantly, the tier 1 facilities are what you're going to use on your site. You're not going to feed it back to the grid.
Okay,
It's for your own personal site, and they're smaller installations. Larger ones that you might see at a solar facility, those would be meant to distribute that energy back to the grid at a later date. So that's why there's 2 different definitions here. This local law, you know, describes general requirements, needing to go through the seeker process, and also siting, lighting, vegetation, noise, and also decommissioning, which is important not only for these, but also for solar installations, requiring a decommissioning plan, as well as a decommissioning fund put up by the applicant for tier 2 facilities. So
that would be by letter of credit, by bond, by what?
either of those means,
Okay,
yep. They shall continuously maintain a fund or bond payable to the town in a form approved by the town for the removal of the battery storage system.
just, I mean, like I said earlier, it makes me nervous. Well, we could be on the hook for decommissioning if, you know, if they just don't renew the letter of credit, or,
Right.
How about just explaining for me, what does it really mean to have single engine, double engine? I mean, energy storage system technology. Are we afraid of the batteries doing what? Exploding?
Well, if they're not maintained properly, possibly combusting.
Rhetorical question, you know, so. So the storage system technology is not just the technology, but it's also the hardware that goes along with where you're storing that.
Correct.
Is there any specifications for the hardware to store those battery compartment areas?
I
Does
think
it have to be like flammable cages like they have for gas? Is it, you know, it's usually, I don't know what it means, energy storage system technology.
So I don't know specifically offhand myself. I think it draws attention to the uniform building code for that. And so we'd have to reference that.
I mean, it seems to me that we can't really have solar without addressing battery storage also. So if we're gonna try to entertain a solar law,
It makes sense to have another, yeah, even without solar, like I said, you could have battery storage at a lot of different facilities.
staff, comments? one of the things earlier we talked about is this draft battery energy storage law has, it's available through special use permit, so it would be the planning board that would review it. We kind of decided, we talked about taking out some of the commercial zones, so that, you know, they had it in several commercial zones. We're talking about C2, C3, C7, and C8 only as a change. Some of the other commercial zones are gateway zones that
Some don't exist anymore.
some don't exist anymore, so there's that too. Some of them are really small. There's a small commercial area that we, you know, it wouldn't really suit to.
I'm novice at this. So you got a solar farm and you got batteries, right? And we're gonna store the batteries. Are we talking about a battery the size of a car battery? Or are we talking about like a generator battery, 4 feet by 6 feet?
Bigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about.
Storing the energy generated till it needs to be used.
And all the monitor systems with that and alarms and.
Yes. Yeah, and that would all go through site plan review as well. This just kind of sets the parameters for that. One other thing that was noted this morning was, we do reference noise. Sometimes the batteries, they hum. So we would want to make sure that any additions we put into this new code would also reference the already existing noise ordinance for the town.
When you measure the decibels, what is the standard? Do you do it right on the side of it? Do you do it 500 feet from it? Do you do it a mile from it? Because I know for a fact in the energy industry, we always had that problem in a certain area. And the numbers, the decibels were all over the place. No matter how close you are, how far you are, it can change dramatically. And I do know that our town has had issues, had almost like a silent noise. It was like a high frequency in certain areas. And we always got back to where's the decibels taken from?
So this
They're all over the place.
this law, and usually the standard is at the perimeter of the property in question. So it's as close as you can right off of the property in question.
And that's at 60,
60 decibels is it shall not exceed that level according to this law.
I have to go back to basics, and I'm sorry. Why do we want this? I don't,
well,
Malta is let me just,
Yeah.
Malta is a place that builders can't seem to get enough of. We have industry, we have retail, we still have a little bit of scenery. Chickens are one thing, but you know, if my neighbor wants to put a solar panel on his garage, I'm okay with that. But whole fields full of solar panels, I find, you know, the idea of doing that to 67 where there's still a little glimmer of some agriculture, I just don't know why we want to do that. And it seems to be, you know, we're still a community where developers want to come and put lovely homes. We argue about whether they want to put too many lovely homes in our community. And I just don't see the upside of a significant sized solar farm or anything more than what you want to put on your garage for your own personal use. I don't get it,
Right.
why we would want to do that.
Well, so to answer that, we don't. But the fact is the state of New York is moving in this direction. And if we completely unregulate it, which as it is now, it's not addressed in our code, it's considered not a use, then they can basically force it. And if we at least put some regulations in place to try to mitigate or keep it where we might want it, we then, or where we don't want it, then that gives us at least something to throw back at the state if they say, yeah. No, there, several years ago, there's not a lot of places for, I wish I found that stuff, for large-scale solar anyway in Malta. It has to be near transmission. And when we met with NYSERDA, probably in 2018 or 19, I think there's 2 places. One of,
There was like 3 places. I still have that PowerPoint that I
Right.
can share. I have it in a folder.
yeah,
Do you
so
remember
there,
where the 3 places are?
one of them is over by the border of the village of Ballston Spa in the town of Malta. Where's the other one? Is there one in the tech park?
There's one over by 67, and then there was one over in the tech park. But that, again, I think was actually 2021, because I tried to get everyone together so we could talk about it, because the assessors were facing some issues, potentially with solar coming along too. So we sat and talked about the realization of where could these really go? Because you can
large.
say you want to site them here, there, and everywhere, but if you don't have what you need in order to get them to the grid and the transmission part to get them, then it doesn't really matter where you zone for them, because they can't go there. And that was what our mission was back then, and we found out there was really only 3, and so that's why we kind of stopped, or the town board at the time kind of just stopped talking about it, felt resolved that, in our code, because we don't address it, that it basically isn't allowed. And, we've been pretty fortunate to not, we have a lot of people asking, but we've been fortunate enough that we haven't had it really pressed. We did one use variance, Cipriani Energy came, but they weren't successful in getting a use variance. So.
Don't we have an active applicant?
No.
Really?
Well, the Gnip Farm is talking about it. They've signed some paperwork.
They actually have a contract on it, right?
Right. And they're doing their due diligence. The solar company is doing their due diligence.
I have
They
talked to them.
came in June of last year, I think, and they came in the March of before, and they're talking about a use variance.
And
That's where that's at.
that's part of the problem is the state is passing legislation to make it easier for these companies to get use variances. And, and like I said, if we keep it totally unregulated, then we have no control over what happens.
Question,
Do you agree, Bob, with that assessment?
at this time, we still allow solar panels on,
Well, people,
like, say, a wire house?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, and you still have to have batteries for part of that also. So you have to address it there.
Well, I don't know. I'm
We
obviously.
can't, yeah,
I would like to do whatever we can do to minimize
Yeah.
this.
Well,
Again, we're looking at farmland, that's viable farmland on my road, that's gonna be.
yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, that if we could say we're not gonna have any.
Give me a rooster over a solar farm any day, thank you. Oh, Rooster isn't gonna live forever.
Yeah.
Solar panels, I fear, are.
The other thing that we have to be sensitive to is the rights of the landowner. I mean, I'm not a fan of solar,
Well,
believe me.
but likewise, as a property owner, we also have to be sensitive to our neighbors. You buy a house in X place, and, that's why we don't allow roosters, but we're gonna allow solar panels. I don't know, I don't like it.
Frankly, I do not like solar farms, and I think the state is getting absurd in their, how they want to bring energy to this state. I've been in the field for 32 years, and frankly, solar would not even exist without tax credits. That's a fact. And the fact is, wind wouldn't even exist without tax credits. The only reason why GE is even in it is because there's a market for it. And the government created the market. Come January, when everything's all electric, I think it's the worst thing that this state can do. Because when we have AI that's at our doorstep, and we have to double our energy output just to stay afloat, you're never gonna do it with the philosophy and the theory that our state has put forward. It isn't gonna happen. And because of that, you're apt to get small cogen plants that pop up to support a data center. Whoops.
The
Well,
last time I looked, Niagara Falls still works pretty good, and that provides us with a lot of electricity. But I don't know how to ask this any other way, except for that whatever the minimum we can do allow is,
Well, I think this is, to go along Barbara's point, is this is an opportunity for us to say, put the circle, big circle, we get to draw the map. There would be no such thing as a solar panel in here, and so do I think this gizmo gadgets that you can hook up in three areas right now will change in the future to where all you need is a pen to be a gizmo gadget and you can hook solar to it? So we need to protect ourselves for the future if we don't want solar panels, because I've got places at work where they're just putting solar panels above the parking lot. Boom. Instead of the carport, well, it's, solar panels right now. I don't
I
want to
mean,
say,
we've talked about that. I mean, ideally.
it's a, well,
That has its goods and bads also.
I'm fighting it. It's down in Kingston. It's not around here.
I think solar has its applications. It does not have it in a solar farm. There is a lot of problems. If some industry wants it on top of his roof and it's concealed, I don't have any problem with it. But the fact that somebody has to be driving down a street and sees acres and acres of black reflective solar panels is absurd. I don't want to hear the thing about, well, it's protecting the farmland. If the farmland was so damn good, they'd be farming it. And they aren't doing that. As a matter of fact, the farm land and the grading in our soil is not really productive to vegetables. It's horseland. So
Well, all that being said, the state is doing their thing. And I think that this, we here, sitting here today, won't change that. I mean, there are other ways to change those things. And so, does anybody have any other comments about things you would like to see adopted in this battery storage law, or?
I'm just going to add that, based on this morning's conversation, the battery storage units would be allowed as a use in C2, C3, C7, and C8 only.
Right.
So that's the geographic extent of the allowance of this use.
Another thing we changed just from this, just to note, is this draft legislation says 7-foot fence. We decided we want to see an 8-foot fence for both solar and
Battery storage.
battery storage.
Well, I know we have already kind of moved over to the solar discussion.
you breeze right through that.
Yep.
Well, the two are related.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, so Bob, you want to speak
So,
a little
yeah.
bit about what you have here?
So the solar law is, more substantial of a text. Obviously, protecting a lot more of the sensitivities of the area. Kind of as we just discussed, some of the larger facilities are under the control of the Office of Renewable Energy Siting. And it is recommended by us anyway, that the town at least address what the regulations for such a facility would be, because ORIS will defer to that if they're reasonable recommendations. So you can dictate minimum lot size, buffer vegetation, buffer landscaping, setbacks from property lines, view shed analysis. You can do all that in your code, even if you don't want it. So that if it is forced on you, they have to go to your reasonable recommendation, or your reasonable regulations. So that's why we did include that here, even though I understand that it's something that the town does not want to see in large scale. One of the things that you'll notice when you look through this law, It is also a model law from NYSERDA, is that it breaks down the types of solar installations into 4 tiers. The first tier being Tier 1, most of your roof-mounted, building integrated, small solar facilities of less than 25 kilowatts. Let's see, it's Tier 2 being ground-mounted. Tier 3 being as you start to get to the larger sizes, and then Tier 4 being over 25 kilowatt hours, which is where the state comes in anyway.
But again, we can have requirements that address what we want, like you said, screening and
Yes.
fencing and view shed and
And
Setbacks.
And
Setbacks.
setbacks, and one of the things that always comes up, and we were kind of chatting about this before, was the decommissioning. Both laws, the battery storage and solar law, call for a decommissioning plan up front, as well as a decommissioning fund to be set up front, so that if the applicant decides to walk away, there is a fund there that the town can use to dispose of the site and return it to natural conditions.
Is that go in escrow? I mean, what percentage is that?
I think it's 115% of construction costs, or sorry, of decommissioning costs. So the applicant is required to submit what that is, to be verified by the town engineer. And then, again, at 115% of that amount.
So how do you get that percentage? I mean, you're talking the average span of a solar system is about 30 years if you're lucky, and you get inflation, you get other factors in, and as we all know, if somebody sets a bond up and their engineering and their construction time seems to drag on, and all of a sudden the town is sitting there trying to find $500,000 that wasn't applied as a bond because of inflation.
So this draft law calls for, again, 115% of the cost of removal and site restoration of a Tier 3 solar installation, and it shall be revisited every 5 years and updated as needed to reflect any changes due to inflation or other cost changes.
That's fair.
What, if any, extra firefighting equipment is needed to handle a fire at a solar farm?
So, well, they have to also submit an emergency response plan that would need to be reviewed by fire and emergency response as part of the
Well, I guarantee you they ain't got it on the property, so it's gonna be our fire departments that can be responding
we actually have an emergency management committee meeting tomorrow, and I will ask that question
for solar fire.
for solar farms, if there's special equipment
I think there is.
that they will need.
If we have.
That's I'll ask that question, Ralph, if somebody else in the room reminds me to. So we'll find that out, because we do have representatives from the fire companies.
If you said this before, I apologize, but what, currently in New York State, what happens to decommissioned panels, solar panels?
So decommissioned solar panels would get taken to a disposal site. I'm not exactly sure where those are. That would be noted in the decommissioning plan. And sometimes they are reused, by different vendors from that disposal site, if they are reusable. So it really just depends on what site is accepting them and how close they are, and that would be noted in your decommissioning plan.
But that could change, correct? I mean, a company could go out of business, or somebody's no longer interested in doing that line of work.
Correct. It would have to be updated every 5 years, just like the disposal fee.
Yeah, I mean, that's my biggest concern about the battery or the solar, is the decommissioning part of it. Somebody could just walk away and leave them there, and will we really have enough money hopefully, but no promises, so.
What a common problem is also, is these solar farms set up these little LLCs for each spot. what they do is they close the LLC before it's even decommissioned, and they're long gone, and there's separate entities. You can't do anything, and the farmer or the homeowner ends up holding the bag. And the liability and the cleanup.
Well,
That's a huge concern for me, as it is in California also at this time.
Sorry, I'm looking up the exact language here, but in that bond, that's how you address that, having access to that bond. If they go under, you've got access to those funds already.
So do you think the 5 years is adequate? I mean. if
That's
they
what-
can close an LLC in like 30 days, 60 days, I think.
They could, but if your estimate that you have in the bank at that time is 115%, then you'd be covered. If they were to go, go under that quickly. Whether you want to review that fee so that if they go under 4 years after the latest estimate, then it might be a little out of date, right? As opposed to, because they have up until 5 years to update. So you could make that span shorter, but New York State does recommend 5 or fewer years.
5 or fewer.
So is there any examples or sample language of how a municipality might guide a homeowner or property owner who's interested in doing this? Can we say, these are some of the concerns, like they could walk away, they could not do this or that? I mean, how do we, here I am, I'm old, I have some land I'm not using, this sounds good. Who's going to advise me whether this is really good for me, my property, and my neighbors?
Well, I mean,
It's called a sales.
yeah, I was going to say, so the code does speak to all those things that, such as setbacks and screening, minimum lot size, the different thresholds for the different tiers. So that's all mentioned in the code. There's also there's a draft decommissioning plan that we've included as an attachment that would sort of indicate these are the things that you would need to do if you do have if you have a panel on your roof, you don't need a decommissioning plan. But if you have a couple of, 100-acre field that you want to turn into a facility, you're going to need a decommissioning plan. So I like to not use the term solar farm because that has occasionally been conflated with ag law, which this is not that. This is a solar facility. You're not growing any plants, you're growing energy. So,
But do we have an agency or
Sure.
advocates or whatever who can advise people? I mean, if I'm sitting here, great-grandpa's
Okay.
farm, I'm too old to farm it, I'd love to save the farm,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this is a way to do it. Is there someone who is impartial, an agency, who could advise me and say, I really want to save the farm, these are the downsides of doing it this way?
from the farm side of things, I'd say Department of Ag and Markets would be where you would go. They would,
Can we put anything in legislation that says we advise you to get some outside advice on whether this is?
we just part of the application. You are duly notified that you're responsible and got to read the circuit, legislation and read our code and decommissioning plan. That's why the application form could be very stringent, as strict as we want it to be, for the areas that we may allow solar panel, if we do or don't. I'm not a big solar panel guy, but I do think we need to protect ourselves with some kind of legislation that's in line, and we draw a nice big circle around our town that says no solar fields.
As we're talking about solar, we have to also think that if the solar is installed onto a farm, we're taking away the field and the land that we could be harvesting Food, the vegetables, is this what we really want to do? I don't know. The other thing is the visual impact I'm very concerned about. If we even allow a solar farm, I've been against them from day one, but my concern is they have a farmer that owns all this land out there. Do we want to tell him what he can do and he can't do? I'm not sure about that. But I can say, if there is a solar farm here, it better have a huge setback, and it better be blocked by a lot of trees and vegetation, at a minimum. Other thing is the cleanup afterwards is huge. The grid, solar panels it's such a small percentage back to the grid. I don't favor it at all. I think there's better ways to get energy faster, larger quantity. In my mind, it's not a green energy. It's a false energy. The other thing is the economic concerns and a local benefit. It's short-term jobs, it's not long-term jobs. The only one it's making jobs for is the energy company that installs the solar. It's not the homeowner, I guarantee. So as we think these things through, we're talking about the codes and the impacts, what we can do. First, we have to decide, is this what our town wants? Large solar farms. In my mind, I say no.
No,
That's
I mean, I think
1 of 5.
I think we all agree. The problem is, if we bury our heads in the sand and do nothing,
It'll be
the
forced
state
upon us.
could come in, right,
We need to regulate
Right.
to protect
right,
ourselves.
to
We
protect
agree, we're
ourselves.
not looking for solar things.
Right,
But the viability of a solar panel, some people are
Yeah.
in love with it and they're gonna have it. So God bless them.
and this proposed legislation has significant, screening and visibility regulations, so,
Yeah, they're all in the attachments to the file for the setbacks and screening requirements,
Right.
lot size requirements. Again, we're gonna reduce, some of the zones that we show here. Also there, for the larger sites of greater than 10 acres, we have a requirement for a visual impact assessment, that can help steer where to put the protective elements so you can't see it from different elements of the town.
And
just trying to make
do
the
you
most of it.
think it's adequate?
I think it is, again, the applicability here is limited, as we noted right now. Technology does change over time, but these are reasonable, these are from NYSERDA. So if a solar company comes in and
I work with NYSERDA quite a bit. There's pros and cons to it.
well, I'm just saying that it's a state agency, so if another state agency comes in and says, hey, you need to have reasonable regulations, you'll have them. So,
It's also a financial arm of our state.
All right, so we're gonna have an application form and we're gonna have to be able to say yes or no at a minimum. To handle to say a lot of no's, but we need to protect ourselves with some kind of law. And I'm all for, if I see an R, this may be misleading. If you see C2, 5, that means, that's around here. So I don't think we should have any kind of commercial residence at all. If you're gonna put it out in the boonies, in the deep woods, I'm kind of for that. No one sees it, it's small. I don't care if it's viable or not, someone wants to waste their money, but I gotta reread that thing that you sent me. 'Cause I don't remember all the setbacks that were listed there. I read it this morning, but I didn't.
Yeah, they're all in the attachments at the
Yeah.
end. So,
Wanna look at 'em?
No, I'll just reread it again. I just plow through. We're not making a decision on it today. We're just trying to feel out. I think we got consensus that we're all not pro solar. We really don't want it, but we need, it's here, so let's protect ourselves from it. That sound good?
Sounds good. I wanna,
And if we never have one, I'm all for it.
I mean, we have been, we're approached at least 3, 4 times in the past year and a half by solar companies, and we kind of just, sorry,
Yeah, next town over.
right?
Had a company that I had a Zoom call with, and they told me that they bought the contract and they have an application with the town now as we talk. So,
With this town,
Is that a true statement?
there's no application in-house.
Applications on the planning board for solar.
Nothing in zoning either.
they're paid a big investment in it, so.
No.
And they were lying to me.
Or even,
Oh, they got duped.
With the state,
Or maybe it's just at a different stage of submission, we don't know.
Yeah.
There's various stages of everything. We talk to people, we know Riley Cove wants to do something, we know Ganip wants to do something. If it's either one of those, they've talked to us, that's it. We don't have paperwork, we don't have a check, we don't have anything.
This is the company that's interested in the cadet.
Okay, yeah, and we've talked to them a couple times, and they're at a variant stage. No application in, but they know that's what they need to do is their next
In
step.
the drawings or site plans.
Yeah, they were working on wetlands and all of that, yep, absolutely.
so, staff, any comments on the draft solar law that we haven't already discussed?
Just make sure we bake in, I know the decommissioning plan does already talk about, having it, but just make sure that we have appropriate review to make sure that it's not just a lip service decommissioning plan,
Yeah.
that it's actually,
A plan,
a reviewed plan.
yeah.
right, yep, and that we have, the applicant essentially pay for that review that we hire out for our engineers.
Oh, that's right, yeah, we want the applicant to pay for that.
Yep. And going back to
Also,
the,
will like to see that 5 years brought down to 3 years
Okay,
on that bond.
all right.
going back to the fire suppression, if the fire department does a review of the project, let's say a project comes in and says, we don't have X, Y, and Z in order to fight it, it could be a consideration to make the applicant pay for the money, pay for that equipment that they need
Right.
in the event that it somehow got approved. But that's a consideration. I don't know the legalities or anything of that, but.
wish list.
Right.
Yeah, because if they need another $1 million piece of equipment for this thing,
Yeah.
And as
That's
we
a
know,
problem.
those prices are going up a lot.
Well, and it might not be that it even says that in there. It may be that they're just not gonna approve the emergency response plan because you don't have the equipment.
That's
So
true.
then if they just buy it, then maybe they do. That might be the way for them to get around that.
That's a good,
But then they'd have it.
right.
anything else? Jamie, Floria?
Nope.
Board members? All right,
I'd like to see the draft product and the final product also.
Emergency. Yeah, again, we talked earlier today, so I gotta make some changes to what you saw over the weekend. So, I'll get that one out to everybody.
Can you circle on a map where those 3 locations are? When you
she's got a PowerPoint,
But then
or,
I'm gonna draw my big circle, like stay
Yeah.
out
Everywhere.
everywhere and make sure those 3 circles are included.
I think if Jamie can send us that presentation, we'll have a better idea. And she can probably send it to Bob too, because
So let's just be clear, we're in control of this situation, and we need to maintain control of it. And so we could be as restrictive as we want on our first go. I'd rather be more restrictive and then loosen up 15 years from now, who knows?
I mean, this summer has been a good summer for solar, but why anybody would want to invest in solar in upstate New York, I don't know.
So,
Except for, you know, this year looked good.
Yeah.
feel good, make you feel good.
Yeah.
For solar.
It's its own little thing, but it's global.
Okay.
We can talk more about that Friday.
Yeah.
Make sure we do that.
All right, all good? Well, Bob, we're gonna, I think, move on to PDDs.
Okay.
You can,
Can we just take a 5-minute?
sure.
Yes. I had a copy, do you have another copy of that?
I can make,
No, not yours, I was talking to the PDDs.
There was some on the table for people.
Yeah, I didn't get one.
All right, Mr. Warner. Come on back, you're being summoned. All right, so we will now move on to a discussion of draft plan development district law changes. Our Director of Building and Planning has worked diligently on this, and so I'm going to leave it to her to give us a summary of the changes. I'm going to turn your mic on, Al.
Yep, so basically the red line document that is in front of you guys, or you were emailed, it's also posted online. Everything in red is things that have been changed. Which is basically, it's a lot. It's 9 pages now, or I think before it might have been 4 or 5. So I made a quick summary page. It's probably not in order of what is on here, but just some of the highlighted things. And some of these things we've already talked about at the workshop when you guys discussed PDDs in May. And so on this little summary sheet, if we had talked about it and you had agreed to it, as a board member sitting around the table, I tried to just denote it, that it was talked about and agreed to on 5/19. So one of the biggest things that we've fundamentally had a problem with since it got put into the law is eliminating the workforce housing starter retirement housing requirements. We all know that that's something that everyone struggles with. We all know that that was meant to do something, but wasn't fundamentally written the right way in order to affect what we wanted to have happen, so we struck that. And we've been talking about eliminating that for some time. We eliminated the supermajority vote to override negative recommendation by the town planning board. And that was something that we had discussed in conjunction with Steve, because there was a question about the legality of making that be what the vote needed to be in order to keep moving on after a negative recommendation came from the town planning board. Excuse me. I tried to provide some more specifics about how staff defines contiguous lots. Some of the properties that we have might have old logging roads, they might have private roads, right-of-ways that go through there. You know, Mangino's, we've got an avenue down there that kind of goes through our property. So trying to say, you know, trying to indicate that we could consider lots of parcels that are next door to each other, but maybe they're separated by a private road or even a public road, that they could, for all intents and purposes, be considered as contiguous as a part of an application.
So can I just ask for a little clarification on that before we move back on? So in the case of, let's go back to the South Shore, which of course we all know, in this new legislation, would those properties be considered contiguous?
Yes.
Okay, so they could do what they had wanted
Yes,
to do.
it's
Okay.
it's not a lot different than land hooked pieces of property, that even though the ownership may be the same in that case, and that's why it's land hooked, it's the same type of
Right.
idea. We know that South Shore, or not South Shore, New York Development Group are under contract with the people who own that house across the way. And, you know, so they were going to control all of those parcels
Right.
of land as a part of this project. And so, and I'm sure, and Steve may be able to speak to that too, if it's something that the town board that's sitting and reviewing the application at the time doesn't want to do because they don't think that it merits it, or there's some type of special condition that's there, steep slopes, you know, old forest land, something that's important to the town, and you don't want to do that, I'm sure you can make an exception. But again, we'd have to probably talk about the legality of that. But those were one of the things that came out of the meetings, and obviously after our experience with South Shore, about trying to put a clarifying point on that.
Yep.
We added a lot coverage maximum of 35%. That was discussed and brought up by the citizen group that has been talking to all the board members and attending town board meetings and talking with staff as well. We added the open space, minimum open space requirement of 25%. We discussed that at the 5/19 town board workshop. The town board members at the table agreed that that was a good idea, and that's how it got put into the law. And there's also a little description about how that can be calculated or what gets included in the calculation of it or not included. Town board, so we talked about the town board holding one workshop for pre-application meeting when we get to the concept plan stage. So that's after people have sat down with planning in the first flush and then it moves from a discussion with us, they want to move forward to get in front of you as the town board. I had it in, the language was a little bit softer in there, saying that the town board could do that if you wanted to, because I was trying to give you some flexibility. But I think you guys wanted to have that, and I think Matt was a big proponent of that, because I had a little note down about Matt agrees, require one workshop. So I'm just gonna change that from may to one workshop is required if the town board members want to do that.
Did we decide or talk about size? Are we having, you know what I'm saying? To be brought in front of us, if it's 5 apartments building, or is it coming in front of the board?
Any planned development district comes before the board.
Oh, okay,
Right.
got it.
There's a
was,
section in
I
there.
was, I got it now.
Yeah.
We're back on the PDD.
So this, so for this, they come with a concept, planning staff says, okay, maybe see with the town board. It's that when they make a concept, we'll set a public, or a workshop to actually just do a little deep, before they make the application, before they've spent a boatload of money.
So what you're saying is they have to come before us ahead of time, be coming before they submit the application or become public at a town board.
Well, I
Yes.
mean, everything's public, but yeah, yes.
They
Yes.
come and sit and talk with us preliminarily like they do, or do have in the past, and then you guys get to hold a pre-application conceptual workshop. So you
Because
can-
I don't like to get sidetracked and just all of a sudden they show up
Yeah.
and here it
Right.
is, and it's like,
Right, well, this gives you a shot to have a
Right.
discussion.
And it gives the public an opportunity to really get more information. If they do a presentation, you really don't get a whole lot, because we only give them 10 minutes. So it gives, us and the public an opportunity to really look at the project before the application is made, so.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make that language just be a requirement,
Right.
good.
if that's what the town board members want.
Yeah.
So then I added some public notice requirement. We had talked about, Barb liked when she found out other communities post pieces of property saying, hey, there's a meeting tonight on this application, or there's an application into the town of so-and-so, check the website out. So 2 things, because now in the town of Malta, which is interesting, because I think it's one of the only places in Saratoga County that do it, when people hand in applications to us, they provide us with an adjoiners list. Then staff turns around, does the letters, we mail them certified mail to the neighbors, and so that's a pretty good sized cost on the town. Now, there is an application fee, but the application fee is supposed to recover, our time. And, so we got paper, we got postage, certified mail isn't inexpensive. So in this case, we're gonna flip that on the applicant to do, and then they just provide us the
Proof.
paperwork, right, that they went to the post office, got their stamp and their registrations. And then the other thing was a temporary sign, which potentially could be a little bit more for enforcement because of the temporary signs lag for a while. But putting it up on the piece of property that is going to be under the subject of the application, and will be a little bit more detailed about what, the size that it's gotta be. I put in there that it needs to stay up past the close of the planning board public hearing. So that way, it would stay up, anyone who passed by the property would know. I'm thinking, and I don't really talk it over with staff, but something like a QR code or something that people can scan that would take them right to the application materials or a location map, something like that. It's much like what we're trying to unfurl for stormwater too, educational components. And we'd still have the ability to go to the website, we'd have the website address. They can still call us and, if people don't have phones or whatever. But,
One problem that I had is those letters went out to adjoining property owners, and the HOA had a thin strip right along the
Yep.
side. They never contacted
Yep.
any of the homes that were,
Yep.
and the signage will solve that problem.
right. So that's a new piece. Like I said, it might be a little bit of an enforcement issue if it stays up longer than it should, but we'll figure that out. The public benefits section added to the local law, indicating general guidelines that could be acceptable. So that's also something that's been brought up by the citizens group who's done a lot of work, but also after the 519 workshop, Steve had jotted down some notes and passed them along to me. And I thought they were great the way that they were worded, so I included that in there, like the guidelines almost for things that could be considered a benefit.
Like I does say, other benefit not otherwise available under the zoning.
Right, because we don't wanna, we wanna guide, but we don't wanna.
Do you think we should list
hamstring
cash on there?
Well, so I have notes from 19. Funding of the courthouse was something that Craig Warner was behind. Open space was something that Matt and Craig liked. And then cash by default was Al, Ricky, and Craig
You
Warner.
got it.
So, I mean, you could put some language in there if that's
Okay,
something you
yeah.
really want to do,
They know
but you
this
need to
ain't-
be,
Cash is king.
you need to be thoughtful about
Probably-
the wording and talk to Steve
Well,
about
Probably,
that.
probably not cash. We
Well,
don't somebody
right.
bring suitcase.
Oh, you put it in the bank, yeah, write a check.
Yeah, Jamie, I just,
Yeah.
Concern is that our town's gonna have some big nuts to crack pretty soon. And if somebody wants to come in here and do a large project, that they should contribute something to helping all our tax payers that benefit everybody, not just some. And it should be some of those large items we have to start addressing.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get off that, Steve, you got a problem with cash? I didn't mean it like that.
cash is
I
king, Al,
apologize.
you know?
I didn't mean it like that. I mean, what are the
So I-
cons against the cash?
Well, the problem has been mischaracterization of it as people calling it bribes, and the characterization of it. That's why I do think if we're gonna consider it, it should be plainly written in the statute. I did send, or in the local law, I did send Jamie some, just now, just a few minutes ago, information about that language. But basically, what I was thinking is that it would have an expression of that the town board may consider cash in lieu, and what the factors are that the town board is gonna look at, and perhaps a statement that the cash in lieu is reasonably calculated based upon the density bonus given to the applicant. So that there's a direct nexus to it, so the public can see, you know, this isn't some side deal. This is like, look, this project is great, but we don't have a good public benefit. So we think that a cash in lieu in that would be calculated if you're getting a 20% density bonus that's valuable to the applicant.
Yeah, I
it's-
just, yeah, I get a feeling that the town benefit, we're shortchanged on that a lot. of
Right,
what's-
this would be
What
designed.
what
to-
we can get for that guy developing what he's developing. The town could probably get a little bit more besides, oh, we got nothing to think of, give me a gazebo over here and a pond over here. Okay, no, we'll take the
mean,
30,000.
Historically,
There's any parking too, right?
historically, we've gotten some pretty good community benefits.
Not all, I'm
I
just
mean,
saying,
right.
I'm saying it's a
right.
feeling I got that we're getting shortchanged. I'm not, I could be wrong.
Right.
That's just me.
But there have been a couple of places where, yes, I think that the public was shortchanged. But, like I say, historically, we've gotten parks and,
And it should be all residents.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be just a group of residents.
well, I think,
Yeah, I
I think in
wanted to
this, her
clarify.
list of things, I think that you do well. But one thing I want to ask is though, if it's a cash in lieu of, does that money, I think there should be some place specifically designated for that money. Like in the case of the Stewarts on 67, the cash in lieu of was to go towards improving the water.
No, I agree. Well, the cash is not just, buy a hot dog stand. It's, to hopefully incorporate it with the project.
Right.
But that's not available, then let's not settle for, the guy with the statue, and then we've lost the potential of helping out other areas in the town, is what I'm getting at. Yeah, initially, the public benefit hopefully would be tied to the project. But sometimes, like it says, if it's not, well, here's the price tag. And then
Yeah, but Cynthia, to your point, the legislation or the local law should have a provision that designates that the funds will be placed in escrow or reserve or the proper language, and to be used only for that purpose. Just like we have found out with other reserves, and, you know, the water money can only be used for the water. So if we designate it as such, you know, we're bound by it through the regulations of the controller to use it for that purpose. And then the timing of it, they need to make any of those payments when we tell them to at the time of, you know, permit or before construction activities begin. So not only do they have to do it, but that we have the money.
Barb?
Yeah, I have a small question. When we do, when the developer does a public benefit, sometimes it's something like trails or sidewalks. Is it clarified in the language or in our town understanding that that's not just a trail for the people who live in that neighborhood, that it's a public trail?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Because I think we have some communities that discourage non-neighbors.
We definitely do.
There is,
do.
especially
It's
through
HOA property only.
yeah,
Okay.
HOAs.
but yeah, that would not be a suitable public benefit for these purposes.
So that
That's why
language
I
is
said
already there.
Yeah.
We don't-
All residents.
Thank you.
That means the town would have to take ownership of that benefit.
Which, right, that's kind of
Trail,
understood,
We
right,
would need easement.
right.
Or deeded dedication to the town.
And that's what's proposed in the PDD that's before us, right, is we take ownership.
I don't know if it specifically says that. but
Well, we
should
just
make
got the
sure.
draft language, so
Right.
we gotta look at it. I haven't even cracked it yet.
I haven't even corrected yet
I haven't
either.
looked at it either.
Okay. Public benefit.
So we added an extended timeline for planning board review after town board referral. It was, previously it was 30 days. And so now we're giving the planning board and staff a range of 30 days to 180 days. That way, depending upon when the PDD comes in, the cycle of the town board and your required pre-sketch and all of the things that go on and the busyness of the planning board, that the planning board won't feel rushed and staff either in any way. And if it takes a month or two, you know, if it goes in front of the planning board 2 times, we'd be within that 30 to 180 days. It doesn't limit us, because before it was 30, and so you had to kind of, depending upon when everything got referred, you had to hurry up, get it on the agenda. Sometimes it was only once in front of the board, and maybe it needed to be more, I don't know. But this gives us a couple months.
It gives the
at least.
planning board flexibility.
Right, this at least gives us a couple months before the planning board, before the town board is expecting to have the planning board make a recommendation back, whatever it is, positive, negative, positive with comments. Separated open space and recreation fees, this was also something, that the citizen group who's been working on this law and talking to everyone about, brought up that, they felt it was important, to separate kind of the open space and recreation fee and maybe how we calculate those fees. What I had included in the law was something they suggested at some of the meetings we had about calculating $1 per square foot per finished floor area,
Question.
based upon the applications that come in, depending upon
When you
what it
say
is.
finished floor area, are you referring to a commercial?
Yeah, this is different than what was in
What
the
if it's
original.
Is it?
Say if it's a warehouse, how do you calculate that? The
You-
Finished,
The warehouse, that'd be whatever.
The finished floor areas, right? Because you originally said in here, I don't remember, I don't know where it is, $1,000 per residential unit.
Oh, then I didn't change anything. This was me trying to make notes earlier.
Okay.
So my bad. If it's 1,000 in the law, it's 1,000. I didn't change it.
It was,
I
it
just-
was $1,000
Yeah.
per residential unit
I'm sorry.
and $1 per finished floor area for commercial.
I didn't change anything, and I didn't change anything in there.
Now-
I just
So
didn't
let me ask,
capture it.
let me ask you something else. So if you have an apartment building, is that gonna be $1,000 per housing unit, or is it gonna be $1 per finished square foot, finished floor area? What?
Well, our zoning code classifies apartments as commercial, so it should be calculated on finished floor area.
Right,
Right,
okay.
because it
Because we
says
don't
residential
charge-
unit,
We
1,000.
don't charge, in our mitigation for our GEIS, we don't charge recreational fees for commercial developments.
And so apartments don't get,
No,
No.
so we should be, in the PDD, we should be charging. them.
yep, for consistency,
So
yep.
this is a fee above and beyond the application fee.
Yes,
Yes.
Above and beyond the town benefit money.
yes.
Yes.
And who's getting that fee?
It's going into our open space fund
Open Space Fund.
Recreation.
and recreation.
Open space
depending
reserve.
upon- Right, reserve.
And you said, so is it split half and half, or is it?
I meant if we're charging a recreation fee, so if it's not commercial and it's resident, we have to, and that's why I kind of left it open, because that's a discussion you all need to have about, sometimes you have a developer who brings something to the table that has a large recreation component to it. So you guys need the ability to be able to decide whether in that case, depending on whatever it is, if you think the recreational component is enough to not, right, or if if this fee potentially applies to them. I think the open space part, and because, we're doing single families and that, the open space part is a fund that the town of Malta has had a really good record of being able to do some nice projects with and be partners with Saratoga Plan, right, and the county and some other things. And so
What would be examples of that?
well, we have the Bowman Farm. We worked with Saratoga Plan for that, which is the orchard you can see from the Northway in between 13 and 12. We have the Cornthwaite Farm, which we funded, the Weeby and the town funded in its entirety, and we put an easement on there. Prior to me arriving here, Town of Malta was a huge partner with the Saratoga County Planning Department and the Board of Supervisors on multiple projects for open space. That's how we have the preserve,
Round Lake Preserve, right?
Round Lake Preserve. We've got names escaping me.
That too.
I know. I'm thinking. Helps me think.
The Eco Park?
Eco Park, yes, thank you. So, over
I just didn't know,
time,
yeah.
a lot of different projects have been done with the money that goes into that fund, and right now, it's, it's been used, and we need to replenish it.
When
Yes.
that money goes into that fund, is there any that fund specifically states what those funds can be used for?
Yes.
Correct.
For example, Downing Street, when we revamped that park, I was told we could not use those funds to upgrade that park.
The Malta Community Park, yes. We had to use Park Reserve, which there was Park Reserve money too.
Which is
So.
taxpayers funded, right?
Well, I mean,
Or,
we don't, yeah, I
don't wanna get ourselves locked in so we can't use those funds.
this is specifically for the preservation and protection of open space. Not for doing capital projects in parks.
Right. And there's a sheet that exists in the comptroller's
Right.
office, and I probably have it in my files, and I'm pretty sure we've talked about this a couple different times, that specifically lays that out, because Kevin had it, Kevin King, yeah. So it specifically tells us what we
Very
can and
clear
can't
as to
do.
what we could use it for and what we
Absolutely.
can't use it for.
Absolutely, yep. Yep, and then, the biggest overriding part of the whole entire kind of local law revamp was the detailed process for concept plan and development plan. As a whole, the process before was kind of written in there, but it wasn't really specific with steps and what was required and those types of things. And so I really kind of dove deeper into the different levels of plan and what we expect to have come in with that. And so you all would have more information in front of you when you're doing your pre-concept, and then before you refer to the planning board. And, you can always ask for more if you're not comfortable, but, I tried to be pretty detailed with those things. And I think Steve and I talked on Friday, we might have some edits to that to even put more finer point on a couple of things, but,
For example,
well, that's lawyer stuff. You have to talk to him.
That cash is pretty good, though.
Cash. But the general idea is still there. He might have we talked about maybe listing some things out more, like he's.
Specifically, yeah.
Because you'll notice too, like in here, I've got A's and B's and C's and 1s, 2, 3s, and some of it is a little off because I figure we're gonna go back and redo this a little bit, so I shouldn't go crazy with A, B, C's and D's if we're taking whole sections out and, so,
And there are whole
Well, it's,
sections there.
Have we,
yeah.
It was,
more detailed process for concept? Are we finished
How
on
come
this?
yours is
Yep,
different?
that's
than
the
mine?
summary.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
Do we have a density cap that we have established here as other
Right,
towns have?
that is not included in this.
Why is
So-
it not?
Well, because honestly, we're not sure what the right number is. I know the citizen group wants 135%. I think they referenced one of the other surrounding towns has that. I don't have any opposition to it necessarily,
Yeah.
but I just don't know, we haven't had enough time as staff to really look into it at this point in order to put it in there. And so we're still working through that piece. I'm not saying that it shouldn't have something in there, but I'm just saying we just
I think it
weren't
should.
ready.
I think it should,
What do you think the number should be?
135.
I'll put it in.
I get that
Well,
because of
let's-
other
let's-
towns in the area.
I still think that subject matter experts should probably get a look at
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
come up with a number two, besides just settling
How
on
are we
130.
calculating that?
How are you
Right.
calculating that?
Yeah, I think that's, I would like to leave that number up to you.
Not as a minimum,
Right.
as a
Yep.
maximum. Other,
I think 135 is a little low
that I
based
have
on,
had for years is traffic studies. Is there any way we can get our town where the applicant gives us the funds to have us contract out a traffic study? Reason being, I have talked to many, many traffic engineers. And you know what they do? That they tell me the same thing over and over. They write that traffic study for who's ever paying the bill.
Yeah, because that's their client.
You did that with,
That's their client,
Reddy.
But it doesn't benefit our town, it benefits them. My proposal,
them?
if possible,
Who's them?
the developer.
Just like you did with Miller Road, right? Paid $16,000 for a stop sign in the middle of nowhere. So I'm done paying traffic studies.
So my point
that was a
is-
safety audit.
is If somebody's proposing a project, for example, down on 67 and Stewart's there, that traffic study is written to benefit the applicant, not the town. And I've heard it over and over and over.
Of course, anybody you're paying is writing it for you and your benefit, and I can tell you why you screwed up.
You're not thinking this through. It benefits the applicant, not the town. You're talking fudged numbers.
Well, I
wait, who
hope that's
fudged
not the
numbers?
case, right?
Who
The
you talking-
traffic engineer
So the traffic engineer fudges numbers, is that what you're saying?
in favor of the applicant.
So you're saying,
Yes.
okay, there you go.
Engineers have
Thank
stated
you.
that.
Let's stay away from the traffic studies from the fudge engineer stuff.
So we won't have, we won't do traffic studies now.
Not us, the applicant can.
And then he tells us, that's my point, it benefits them, not.
Right, but they're also reviewed by our town engineer. They're-
I'm gonna say
yeah.
the traffic study, I haven't seen or
You
heard,
haven't seen hardly any, have you?
I've seen enough,
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
Right. I
Tell
think,
to me.
I'm not here to please you, Craig, all
How
right?
about the traffic
I'm not
study
here
up
to
in
please
back?
you, what's in my head, all right?
How about the traffic study that
I'm
was
not here
up
to
the
get
back
quizzed
of
by
your
you.
Backyard?
What about it?
Do you agree with that?
Listen, I can tell you, I don't agree with any traffic study, how's that? I think it's arbitrary.
Then why are we doing them?
I don't know, you wanna pay for them, I'm saying no.
I'm not saying us pay for them, the applicant compensates the town for it.
That means we're paying for it.
No.
No.
That's not your cash, no. They're giving us the money, they're compensating.
Well, and they
But
kind
we
of,
control the
they
outcome.
kind of do when they set up engineering escrow, because our town designated engineer looks over the traffic evaluation or report, whatever it is called for.
And determines
Decides
whether or
if the
not-
methodology is correct, if they've used the right land use
Okay.
classifications, and that fee and the hours that are spent doing that come out of the escrow that the applicant gives to us for legal and engineering.
So I'm just gonna think, because
The applicant controls the outcome.
Well, no,
how's that happen?
No, a couple of things, if I could just add. I do agree with Jamie's summary of what's gonna happen. I'm a little concerned with them paying us and getting the study. It just,
It's part of
but-
the application fee.
yeah, but the second point of it is, you know, if you've got some suggestion that they're fudging numbers for a traffic report, they're gonna lose their license, so.
They're going
so-
back years beforehand.
Right, so that's what,
Taking other traffic studies and saying, okay, it applies now. How about the South Shore? When that went through, that traffic study,
well, that's not upon us to have our engineer rip apart a fraudulent study and say that this is ludicrous, and then your town board's gonna say this entire application should be thrown out.
but it doesn't get thrown out.
Well, that's up to the town board, though. Right? So you have the control. You know, we have the mechanism in place, you know, we can look into it if you want a requirement. You gotta look at the expenses that we have between mitigation fees, public benefit. You're
I
looking,
understand that.
right,
I just
so,
want true numbers.
right.
I don't want some traffic engineer going out doing a study,
Right. It's like in a litigation when
When it's-
you hire the doctor to,
low volume versus high volume on 67. In the morning versus the afternoon. If they do it at 1:00, it's gonna favor the applicant.
well, any traffic study that I've ever seen, it gauges the traffic at peak,
It
peak hours.
calculates all the vehicles going over the little rubber tube
Yeah.
throughout the day,
How about
and
when
it's
they go
calculating
back
peak
3
hours,
years?
low hours, and whatnot. That's a traffic
Apply
study.
that.
It's a little hose you run over in the street, but there ain't no guy out there with a videotape, you know, who's going fast, how many, and how many trips you made, if it's the same car. And again, I don't know how someone says the traffic study is gonna say high volume, low volume, what volume is the right volume? And so I don't wanna pay anything near that. I don't trust anything.
Traffic study on East Line,
What about it?
right by your house.
What about it?
I don't think they're accurate.
I don't think any of them are accurate. I agree with you.
Okay,
So I don't know, why would you wanna pay for it then?
I'm saying we have more control over it if we hire it
See,
out
to me,
with our
the traffic
engineers.
study is this much minuscule on my decision-making process, unless we're putting a highway through the
Right,
neighborhood.
unless the traffic study comes back
I
and
can tell you
says,
right now, taxes are gonna go up and traffic's gonna go up in our lifetime, and that's just the way it is.
Okay,
I mean, the traffic study is really to show whether or not
They're
we're
gonna do
gonna
a traffic
create.
study and gonna say, there's gonna be more traffic. Oh, I
you
couldn't,
know what, Al,
It's, you know, it's really
you're hitting your
decide
head, but
Whether-
you're complaining about it too.
whether or
oh,
not.
no,
we're-
I'm clear, I'm not for paying for traffic studies.
yeah, but he's not suggesting the town's paying for it. That's the whole point. He's saying that the
I'm not
applicants,
saying the town is paying for
oh,
it.
yeah,
They control the outcome.
we can look at it further, but his point is, you guys are agreeing. Neither of you want the town to pay for the study.
A traffic study should be done.
Right, and Craig wants it to be done by the town's designated engineer
You're gonna say.
rather
traffic
than the
study's gonna be-
applicant's, because he feels that we're gonna get a more accurate engineering report.
On anything, it's gonna be biased. Whoever you're paying, they're gonna cater to.
Yeah,
Right.
It'll still be done basically by the same three traffic engineers that are.
And
there.
every one of them has told me they favor the applicant because they pay the check.
Yes.
Right.
It's just like.
But if
me
you know that going
into the
in
store,
with a grain of salt, you know that
buying
going in.
something,
self-medicated.
They're answering to me.
What'd you say?
She said self-mitigating, and I said word. What else you got, Craig? Anything else besides the traffic?
The open space, PDD should be subject to the 25% requirement, not just residential, that came up earlier in your summary. Public benefits, we brought that up. It shouldn't be questionable. It should be clear as to how it benefits all residents, just not some. And if you have a 3 and a 4 family dwelling in fixed uses on a 3-acre lot, unless they fit in the 135% density cap that we talked about, and they still have the 25% open space requirement.
Did you change, we didn't change that, right? Minimum 3 acres for commercial, minimum 5 acres? What was it before?
3 was commercial.
3 acres for commercial. And now she's got in red 5 acres, industrial. Residential's 10, right?
Yeah, but if I
10 acres.
deleted something or I spaced something,
Right.
sometimes it turns it red too.
Right, so it stays 10
It
acres
tells
for
you on the
residential.
side what was put
Yeah.
in or deleted or whatever.
Yeah,
So after these
Mine's different than everybody's.
updates, we're gonna get a draft to review
well, let's,
again,
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely.
have we decided on changes? Oh, other than you to try to work up a recommendation for the maximum
Make sure you
density?
added it in that traffic study.
Are we adjusting the open space fees?
I
What's
still
that?
think I'm right on that.
Inflation.
I mean,
They can't-
I've talked to others.
Put that note in
I've
there.
talked to
But this I'd already printed, I think,
traffic
before you
engineers,
put
they
the,
all say
right?
the same
Yeah.
thing.
I think.
Yeah, I think
So
What's
I
that?
think that's why it's not in
About
there.
traffic studies.
Yeah.
So you want to
It's
adjust
wherever
them?
you're paying
We wanna
anybody
adjust
for
that?
whatever
For
service,
inflation.
there's gonna be
Right, and
bias.
Adrian put that in
That's
there,
my
but like
point.
I said, we've got,
I'm come
Same
to a
version, but
conclusion, if
different
you
colors of
add a
things
house,
going.
Oh, so that's why he's got
one
blue in
car,
his
it's
and I
gonna
only
add
have
to the
red.
traffic.
yeah.
I didn't
I don't
get
need a
This is an
study to
older
tell me
one
that.
and
Is it gonna be so congested that it's gonna have a line down the road for 50 cars? That I might wanna know about, but other than that, it's basic stuff.
It's interesting that they're the ones that are telling me that.
Who's they?
Again, that's what was
Are saying
online.
what?
That's what
They're
was
saying
online, that's your matches.
Whoever pays the check.
That's in anything in
Mine's
life.
online or the blue line?
Anybody in life, you're paying somebody,
you know,
they're
what,
gonna
Al,
do
you
it
don't
like
have to
paying.
come.
Well, that's what
I
you're
just
telling
didn't
me,
Change anything.
that they're biased,
Oh, it's good.
telling me that.
Yeah,
Do you have anything, Barb?
Rotate up.
I
Roger's
don't
office
at the
out.
moment.
That would
Okay.
really
Listen.
help.
okay.
I'm against traffic studies,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
even though I know they're part of the problem, part of the plan.
The point is, they can be very
Somewhere in there.
flexible.
I think we put it on.
They can tell you what you want to hear.
I'd rather hear the truth.
Exactly.
That's what I wanna
my
pay for.
point.
All right.
All right, what else? Any other comments?
I want a workshop about traffic studies.
No.
You know, I've got a great book for Al.
Huh?
Got a great book for Al.
Great
On
book.
Craig.
Yeah, it's called the Mulek. It's 437 pages, edition 11. I've
I gotta
read it a little bit.
give him a disappointing affirmation for the day. Anything else? Are we done here?
I don't mean to argue with you, Craig. That's just,
Let's talk about the courthouse.
Barton and LaJudas is gonna update our recommendations based on what we talked about with them, and I don't see any really major changes from what you have, other than you guys are gonna work on something regarding
Eventually, yeah,
the,
because we still gotta, we're working on the other multiple pieces too, so we'll get there eventually.
So are we gonna establish that density
they're gonna,
cap at 135?
We're gonna do some calculations and then we can revisit it. Again, we don't know 110% how that how it was calculated. We have to have time to look at it. But he's doing 167 right now. She's doing form-based code and everything's week after week after
The reason
week.
why
So
I bring it up
we're working.
is when we're out campaigning, Al knows that, Cynthia, one of the first things they talk about is density and traffic. They're tired of it.
Traffic is not
And if-
all created by the town of Malta.
Right.
You have to
And
remember
I
that we are the
understand that, but this is
crossroads.
what the people are telling us. You're a planner, I have to answer them, you have to answer me, right? Right? So, you need some kind of a density cap. If you wanna take this further, we will, because I work for them, you work for the town, correct?
We're gonna calculate and we're gonna talk about it at a different time.
I'm not arguing.
We're saying
I'm
we need
just
time
saying.
to look
To look at
at
it.
other municipalities, their calculations, and how the town of Malta is going to calculate the 135.
I'm saying I want a density cap.
We understand
We
that.
understand
We
that.
understand that. We
I
just
don't
have
think you
to,
need to be rude to us about.
Being rude to you,
You are.
I'm just telling you the facts.
I'm not
It-
appreciating
The
it.
Yeah.
people want a density cap. They're telling us that.
Yep.
I'm gonna excuse myself before I lose my temper.
Please do. So, are we gonna answer to the people that are out there? Or are we gonna sit here?
We're gonna work with and trust our.
Craig, I think we
just
just
have
said
time.
the density cap, no one's saying no.
Nobody's saying no.
What the right number is, let the subject matter experts, who I consider,
That's fine.
that's what she said.
we'll do some visualizations.
No one's
so you
arguing
can
with
see
that.
What the difference is between 125, 135 and all that stuff.
Right.
Let us do it the right way. We just need just a minute to do it. That's all. We're not saying no. Yes, exactly.
I want 137 and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll call that the Ricky factor.
And listen, if anyone's out there doing whatever we're doing, I'm telling you, traffic is gonna increase. It's never going down.
I'm gonna state one thing. I'm against solar fields also.
Okay, anything else?
I'm whooped.
We gonna end it on that? We have a town board meeting on Monday,
Oh, I thought you said now.
a regular agenda meeting, nope.
I started getting nervous. I just got
And we
nervous.
have another workshop next Wednesday where we'll be discussing the general zoning changes in our chapter 167 law, which is basically everything except for form-based code. Will be our discussion here next Wednesday at 4:00.
Can you say again, Cynthia? I was not listening. I'm apologizing. I was daydreaming.
The changes to
September 4th.
changes to our zoning code, chapter 1.
September 4th.
September
It's a
4th.
Thursday.
So all of the other stuff we talked about, like,
That's when we moved to Thursday instead of Wednesday.
no, that one's, oh,
Form-based
Thursday,
code.
form-based code
It's
is,
September 4th. It's a Thursday.
Let me just make sure.
Next week is 167, which is the 300 and some odd
right,
pages of.
which
law.
is all of those changes that we talked about, the,
That me?
So Cynthia, I just have one other question. Is that really kind of related to your concerns about density and traffic, which obviously Malta has no, whatever happens to the west of us happens to us as well. But Route 67, do we have any leverage at all to get that roundabout built sooner rather than
well,
later?
it's moving ahead. Got a bill from Creighton Manning today. So it's moving ahead as fast as it can possibly. It likely won't be until probably 2027 before they actually.
Well, what can we try to do to move that up?
Nothing.
Because again, I
Yeah.
go back
So
to.
I think,
We're lucky we're getting it now.
Well, except for that it also is tied in with a community that does not have potable water. So I would really like to find a way where we could politely try to use some leverage with our county administrators, the state representatives, to get that roundabout done so we can run the water line into the,
I think that's part of the plan.
Yeah, I think they're two separate things. I think he's gonna, looks like they've got equipment staged down there to start the water line. Two separate things. The water
Okay.
line's gonna be a lot
I've
faster
been
than the
told- I
roundabout.
sound like Craig now, I've
Yeah.
been told, but
Those two things are not related.
okay.
They're not related at all.
They originally told me they were, so
Oh,
that one was not gonna happen till the other. Okay, so
No,
that's now you're saying.
so
it's
let me,
that-
They're-
They're both working hand in hand, aren't they?
Well, no, the roundabout's a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
They determined where the water line has to go because of,
I think we're going off tangent on our workshop, but we got a meeting coming up, right? So we can bring those back up at those.
all right. Thanks, everybody.